What do you got now? You're good? Okay. Let's see, do we have anybody else on yet? We've got the group chat enabled. We have the Q&A open. We are ready to talk Google Analytics. All right, looks like we have some people coming on board. This is awesome. Cool. We have the Q&A app going. I see some people joining. How you doing, everybody? This is a little bit different for us. It's kind of fun, but you know, I'm hoping that we can try this out, see if it works, see if you get anything out of it. We'll give it another minute or two, and then we will go ahead and get started with the broadcast. Yeah, I can see some people joining on now. As soon as we give it another minute or two, and we'll switch over to the slide deck, and we'll switch over to the analytics dashboard so that you guys don't have to stare at my mug the whole time. But we'll give it one more minute, and then we'll dive in. Closing the door so that we don't get any extra noise here. All right, so I have, I'll tell you what, if somebody wants to give me just a heads up in the group chat, let me know that they can hear me okay. I would certainly appreciate that. Group chat on the Hangouts, if you're not familiar with it, you should have a little navigation bar over on the left side of the window, and then it's the top little window. You can actually click on that, and then you'll see the group chat over on the right side of your screen. I know Hangouts are, we love them. And we have some people who aren't so sure, but we wanted to test this out and see how the technology worked. So thanks for being guinea pigs right along with us. Cool. All right. I see some people joining, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to say thanks to everybody who is joining us today. This is our first official Hangout on air from 30 Lines. If you're not familiar with 30 Lines, we are a digital marketing agency based in Columbus, Ohio, and we do a lot of work with websites and email marketing. About half our business is in the apartment industry, and that's why we really wanted to put together this presentation for you today, just to talk through Google Analytics, make sure that you're comfortable with it, make sure that you have an opportunity to ask questions, and really see what you should be looking for when it comes to the data and how your website's working and how you can use that to be a better digital marketer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to the slide deck, and we will make sure that we all right, cool. So you should, on the screen, you should see our our slide deck of the Google Analytics, and going to go through some screenshots, going to go through just some ideas in terms of what we tend to look for. Hopefully you already have analytics set up on your website, at least the basics, so that you can see traffic and where it's coming from and those kinds of things. Hopefully today we can give you some ideas of how you can take that a step further, really look at insights and what you can get out of analytics to really make better marketing decisions going forward. we hear this idea all the time of kind of sorting through the traffic, and half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half. It's this famous quote for advertisers that they've been using it forever. And so I wanted to dig into a little bit and see like how long has that quote been around, and is it even close to being accurate? Turns out that John Wanamaker said that back in 1911, and I promise you we have much better tools than he had available today. So we want to make sure that you understand what you're getting out of your digital marketing, and that's going to start with your website, and that's going to start with Google Analytics, which is why we're here today. Obviously, people aren't just coming to your website. They are using about 10 or 11 different sources of information whenever they're making a buying decision. So we certainly want to look at what is happening on the website, but we also want to look at what's happening kind of further up that sales funnel. If we think about it, the leasing funnel for apartment marketers, where are they finding us? How are they running into our property brand? How are they conducting their apartment search even before they know who we are by name? So there's a lot of different things happening, and there's some things that you can do to create marketing campaigns that will help you better understand where you should be attributing your leads, and which marketing sources are working and which ones might not be doing anything for you that you should just turn off. So, bottom line is that digital marketing is very, very measurable. We know that with analytics. We know that we're asking on our guest cards, hey, how did you hear about us? We know that we're asking, our on-site teams are asking that question. It's obviously an important question. It's certainly something that we want to know more about, but in a lot of cases, it's not that accurate, and that wherever we're attributing our leads based on what people are telling us or based on what they picked from a drop-down is not quite accurate. So the big thing that we want to learn from our website traffic is, what are people actually doing, and how are they really hearing about us? So for today, I'm not necessarily going to focus on some of the basics of looking at traffic and those kinds of trends, but I really want to focus more on how do we use analytics to better understand how our website is performing for us as a marketing tool. How are people finding us? What are they doing when they get to our site? Are our ad campaigns working? Are our other campaigns working? Online, offline? Are they driving traffic to the website? And then once we get people to the site, are those visitors taking the actions we want them to? Are they picking up the phone and calling? Are they getting driving directions? Are they filling out the guest card and contacting us to schedule a tour? We really want to know what they are doing, and if our website is converting people at the right level, or if there's some work that we need to do on the website after they get there. And then finally, we want to know, okay, what marketing sources are working best? Not just driving traffic, but what are the ones that are actually turning into converted leads, converted guest cards, converted applications, so that we can look at where we should focus our time and money and effort going forward, and which marketing sources we should turn off. All of that we can get from Google Analytics. If you don't have it set up on your website, please send me an email after this, and we'll make sure that we get you set up. But if you don't have analytics set up on your website, you're really flying blind. So make sure that you do have it set up. The one thing that I want to emphasize is that analytics really isn't set up correctly out of the box. First of all, everybody who is setting up a new website is going to be set up on their new version of analytics. It's called Universal Analytics. If you've had a site for a while, you might still be on the older version, but you definitely want to upgrade. The Universal Analytics has a number of better tools, better ways to track, more data, more information, and there's actually other types of things you can see in the little graphic that Google put together. You can actually track even like mobile apps. You can track Universal Analytics can be used for anything. If you wanted to put it on your resident portal, if you want to put it on any kind of your leasing kiosks in your leasing office, you certainly could put Universal Analytics on that, and from one piece of code you could get a really good idea of how all of your marketing is working. So make sure that when you set up the website, when you're talking to your web developer, that you're setting up Universal Analytics, or that you've upgraded to Universal Analytics. I want to thank getting some tweets of some people who are trying to listen in. So I certainly appreciate that. That's pretty awesome. Hopefully, hopefully Lindsay over at Champion can get her internet back up. But I want to thank one of our clients, WC Smith, and they graciously allowed us to use some of their data. So you're seeing real data from a real property website, and we can dive into a dashboard later and look at live data if we need to. But I think hopefully we can get enough out of it. But want to make sure that you understand that we're looking at a real property. Right now, once you get the website set up, once it's been running for a little while, this is what your typical dashboard will look like. And Google has recently changed some of the terminology. Instead of visits, they're now sessions. Instead of visitors, they're now users. And some of the reason that they're doing that is because they're trying to give us a better picture of where that user is finding us, whether it's in the desktop browser, on a tablet, on a mobile phone. They're trying to kind of consolidate that for us so that we can get a single view of one user, even if they're getting to our website from multiple devices. So we see how our traffic is doing. We see how much of our traffic is new visits versus returning. We get a total number of page views and how many people how many pages people are viewing for each session, how long they're staying on the site. Bounce rate is an average of across every page of the website in terms of once people get to the website, to that page, are they taking a further action and getting into the website a little bit further, or are they leaving, are they bouncing away? And I'll talk about bounce rate in a little bit. But this is what a typical dashboard looks like. And once you play around with analytics, you'll know where to get some of the pieces of information that you're looking for. But I want to make sure that you're customizing it so that you get the information that you want. Up in the top left corner in that left menu bar, you're going to see an area called dashboards. And you can set up private dashboards. You can set up shared dashboards across your team. If you're working with an agency like us, we can set up a shared dashboard so that we can be looking at the same data and we can really customize our view so that we get the information that we want quickly. So I want to see our goal completions. I want to see how many guest cards are we completing. I want to see over on the right, I want to see how much of our traffic is coming from mobile and tablet as a percentage of all of our traffic. I want to know what are our best sources in terms of traffic. All of those things are custom widgets that I've added to the dashboard. If you need help setting up a dashboard, shoot me an email. I'll be glad to shoot you some details on that. I know that there's some YouTube videos out there. Google does a nice job in their support forums, letting people know how to set these up. It's pretty intuitive, but on any page that you're on, if you want to add that to your dashboard, if you're looking at a report you want to see on a regular basis, just go up to the top and you should see something that says add to dashboard. You can do it manually as well, but you really want to get to this kind of single view of your most important data, and you can do a lot to customize this. But these are in the dashboard section. But we have traffic coming in. We have a few reports that we can look at. What do we really want to dig into? What are the things that we want to measure to answer those questions that we had earlier? How are people finding us? I mentioned the very specific metrics that we look at to answer each one of these questions. How are they using the site? What are the metrics we should look at there? Are they taking the actions we want them to take? And then again, using all of this data, how do we see what marketing sources are working best? For that last question, one thing that we see is that too often the property website, the company website, gets too much credit for being the marketing source that brought in the lead. And providing websites to our clients, we certainly want to take as much credit as we can for being able to deliver that lead. But in a lot of cases, those people are finding you from somewhere else. They found your website through a Google search. They found your website through a Craigslist ad or some other kind of marketing campaign that you're doing. So we really want to know, hey, they came through the website, but we also know what other sources are driving that traffic. So again, that's what we're going to really dig into now, is how are those people finding us? You'll see when you're logged into your analytics, you'll see something at the bottom called, on the bottom left in that menu, called goals. Goals are not set up out of the box, but they are critical to have so that you understand how your website is actually performing, not just in terms of traffic, but are people taking the actions you want them to? And like I said, for most apartments, the goals you want to look at are people filling out a guest card? Are they starting an application? Is your site working? And we can start to really understand what is a good conversion rate. Do we need to change the offer? Are people getting stuck somewhere? Is the application too long and we need to kind of make that process a little bit easier? Those are the things that we can tell by the conversion goals. So what are some things that like I said, Google does not set up the goals out of the box because every website's a little bit different. An e-commerce site is very different in terms of the goals they want to achieve, or our website is very different versus one of our clients' property websites. So what are some conversion goals that you might want to consider for a property website? Certainly, are people filling out the guest cards? Are they starting an application? If you have an e-newsletter and you have a sign-up form there, are they signing up for that e-newsletter? Are they signing up for some kind of offer or coupon that you might be able to provide them? You might want to look at things like, a little bit softer. Are they spending a specific amount of time on the website or visiting a certain number of pages? If you have a property tour, virtual tour, or a video that you have of the property, did they watch that video? Or did they take some kind of action to share the website? Did they share a floor plan with a friend or email it to someone? All of those are potential goals. I think that it's best to start off with the top two. What we typically see is that people, vast majority of prospects want to see the property. They're looking to schedule a tour. They're looking to talk to somebody before they apply online. So typically that guest card is most important, but we certainly want to know how many applications we're getting through the website. So we want to set up our website so that we can track these things. I'll show you what this report looks like, but first I'm going to talk through how to set that up. The way that you track a conversion goal is by looking at a certain action. So if we want to know that somebody filled out the guest card contact form, the best thing that we can do is either see how many times the submit button gets clicked on that form, and that can be done through what's called event tracking. Or the other thing that we could do is when somebody submits the guest card and they see a thank you page, well, if we set it up so that the only way that somebody sets up can see that thank you page is by filling out the guest card, then we know that page views to that thank you page mean that somebody successfully submitted the form. So that's an easy way to set up a conversion goal, is to kind of walk that create the report so that it says, the first step is view the contact form. The second step is view the thank you page. If we know that they take those two steps, then we know that they successfully completed that form, and we can then tell Google that that's a successful guest card submitted. So once we know that, once Google has that report set up for us, it'll start to track everything backwards, and it'll do all the math for us going forward. Goals, unfortunately, are not retroactive. So if you set one up today, it's not going to tell you how many guest cards you got last week. But going forward, they're an invaluable resource in terms of being able to see how many leads you're getting and what that looks like in terms of total conversion rate for the website. So this is what that report looks like. You'll see, all right, we got almost 70 leads came in, 69 leads came in this month in terms of people filling out that contact form. You'll see that we have a conversion rate of just over 2%. Which is okay. I'd certainly love to see that a little bit higher, but I'm pretty happy with anything over 2%. And then we see in the big oval here, we see these are the sources that are actually driving leads. So we know that number one is Google organic, and that means 30% of our leads came from organic SEO. Number two is Google CPC or AdWords. So we know that our advertising is running, and that's actually turning into leads for us. Direct traffic is number 3. We see 4 and 5 are urban turf, so maybe there's a little bit of local PR that's happening that is driving traffic for us. 6 is more SEO. 7 is Google as a referral site, which means that it's probably coming from something like Google Local or Google Maps. It's another site from that is owned by Google, but it's not necessarily google.com traditional search. 8 is the corporate site, and then 9 is Yelp. So we can start to see what are the sources that are not only driving traffic to the website, but actually turning into leads. And again, this isn't set up out of the box, but once it's really something that should be set up so that you're getting the full benefit of analytics. So once we have these goals set up, we want to make sure that we have the website kind of optimized for conversion, optimized for getting people to take that action that we want them to, and being able to track it. So one of the things that we see a lot is we see that companies want to put their contact information out there, including their email address. And we know that prospects want to find you. They want to know where you are. They want to know how to get a hold of you. This is a good thought, but making it, giving people the opportunity to email you directly without going through a contact form means that you lose the ability to track where they came from. So keep the address, keep the phone number, but take the email off the site. Instead, push them to a contact form like this, make them fill out the contact form, which you can email anywhere you want. But that way, they still have the ability to send you an email and contact the property, and you have a better idea, because you have your goals set up now, you have a better idea of where they came from to get to you. Speaking of phone numbers, we do see that a lot of people still want to call the property to ask a question. Maybe they want to know about an application fee. Maybe they want to know about the pet policy. So certainly there's an opportunity to use tracking phone numbers. And those could be a single tracking phone number for the website, or you could do something called dynamic, where the tracking phone number actually changes based on how people get to the website. So there's some technical details there, but here's an example. The call us phone number, this is on Bozzuto's website. That number actually gets populated based on how they get to the website. So they're able to see whether they fill out a contact form, they hit that request info button, or whether they call the phone number, they're able to see, hey, they came from the website, and they here's how they got to the website before they contacted us. The final thing that we see a lot of is that you're probably running a lot of other campaigns, whether you're doing email marketing, whether you're doing offline property banners with a website. Craigslist is certainly a big one. There's a lot of things that you're doing, maybe some community outreach. There's a lot of things that you're doing that you might not be able to directly track online. But Google has a really cool thing called annotations. So if you're in your dashboard, you see this little, right on the June 15th, you see that little triangle that's pointing up right now. That is, you'll see that, and you'll see that in your dashboard, you can click that, and you'll get a drop down to add an annotation. Annotations are really good for seeing, okay, if I want to track things that I'm doing offline or other campaigns that I'm running. Let's say you start doing, ads at the bus stop, or you run an email campaign. You can add those annotations and say, as an example, we sent this email to 1,100 subscribers, and then we can immediately see that day and the next day how much of a bump in traffic that gives for us. So make sure that you're setting those annotations so that you're able to track your offline activities and see what that's doing to impact traffic into your website. Because otherwise you'll just report it as website traffic. It'll probably show up as like direct traffic, and you just think that you want to have some idea of how those other campaigns are doing for you. So annotations are a really good way to do that. Another thing that you can do is just keep an eye on how your website is doing on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week, month-to-month, and you can do that through these custom alerts. So you'll see the intelligence events. You can go to the overview section, set up any custom alerts that you want. For our SEO clients, we want to know if there's any kind of major change in search traffic. Maybe there's something like the host, the website goes down for a little bit, or there's some kind of change in the Google algorithm, and we want to make sure that we're aware of that. So we set up alerts for things like when search traffic goes down more than 5 or 10%. And then we'll get email notifications, we can get text notifications. You can set these up and you can have them go to whoever you need to. And these are completely based off of whatever metric you want to track. So if you want to see whenever you get a big bump in traffic from an email campaign or a big bump in traffic from social media, you can set up those alerts so that you don't have to constantly live in your analytics dashboard. So that's a pretty handy little feature. Analytics on its own is an amazing tool that's going to give you everything you need for your for tracking your website, but there are some other things that we need to add to it. So I want to give you some tools to add to your website. The first one is Google Webmaster Tools. We want to make sure that we are understanding how people are searching for us. We want to make sure that we understand the health of our website. How does Google see our website, and are there any issues that we might need to address? Webmaster Tools helps us with that. This is Google's way of telling us this is how we see your website, and here are some suggestions to fix the structure of the site, or help us read your website a little bit better. So one thing that we really want to know is we want to know how many people are searching for us and in what ways. So Google Analytics out of the box doesn't quite give us all of that information, but they give us a lot more information if we set up Webmaster Tools. So we want to know whether it's branded search, whether it's unbranded search. Here's all the different ways that people are. This is Google is suggesting to me all the different ways that people are typing for 2M apartments, and there's a whole bunch more too, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I want to see how much of that's actually driving traffic into my website, and I can do that through Webmaster Tools. So once I have Webmaster Tools set up on my website, this is a separate Google tool. It actually connects in with your analytics, and the two together are really valuable. You can get most of the Webmaster Tools reports inside of analytics, but this is going to give you a lot more information about how people are finding your site. So this is really useful data for understanding your web presence in terms of, take a look from left to right on this in the oval here of what I've circled. 750 total queries. So there are 750 different things that people typed into Google where this particular website for 2M Street popped up in search results, which is pretty incredible in terms of your SEO strategy. You might want to just target, in this case, you might think, hey, we want to rank for DC apartments, or Washington, DC apartments. But, it's important to note that people are searching in this many different ways, because it makes you think about broadening that SEO strategy so that you can have your website ranking for more different types of terms. 750 different ways. We want to make sure that we're showing up for hopefully as many of those as possible. So out of those 750 different types of terms that people typed in, that resulted in about about 58,000 impressions within Google search, and that resulted in about 2,500 clicks through to the website. So you can kind of see what this looks like in terms of the trend line, and then down at the bottom you can start to see individual terms and how the website is ranking for those terms. So obviously if somebody searches for the property by name, they're showing up there quite often, but then we see Noma apartments. That's good news, because that means that a local search where people might not know us yet, we're starting to show up. And if you see over in that last column, the average position, that's Google's estimation of the average position of where your website shows up if somebody does a search for this term. So Noma apartments, our average position is about 3.5, which means we're right on the first page. I'm actually really happy about that. So the Webmaster Tools, get that set up, get your site verified, get Webmaster Tools connected to your analytics, and then in analytics you'll have a much deeper view of what you can be doing with SEO and how Google sees your website. It helps a little bit with this whole keyword not provided issue. Keyword not provided has been something that has been more and more of an issue over the last 2 years. It comes from people who are logged into Google when they're doing searches. Webmaster Tools helps us find some of that data. Using tools like Google AdWords can help us estimate what are the best keywords for us and what keywords should we really be targeting when we're creating our SEO content. But it is something that you're going to continue to see in your report. You're going to see more of the not provided in the basic analytics keyword reports, but make sure that you have these other tools set up so that you can still get a sense of what are those organic searches that we really want to be ranking for. Another thing that Webmaster Tools shows us is who is linking to our website. So you'll see this in this links to your site area, but we can really start to understand, all right, are people saving our website to Pinterest? Are people from other blogs linking to us? Are we linking? Is the corporate site and any of our sister properties linking to us? We know that ranking in Google is kind of a popularity contest. Links don't count for as much as they used to, but they're still really valuable in terms of if you can accumulate links into your site, that's kind of an indication to Google that you're probably a good site that they should pay attention to and rank higher. So this gives you some insights into who is linking to your site and what does that mean in terms of potential partnerships or places where you should focus on creating more content, or there's a lot of different things that we can do with that once we have a better understanding of where these links are coming from. One place that doesn't allow links anymore is Craigslist, and we get a lot of questions from our clients about, hey, should I stop posting to Craigslist? It seems like I'm not able to track that anymore. I don't see Craigslist referring traffic into my website because our links don't work. Well, what can we do with Craigslist? Well, we still see a lot of people searching for apartments on Craigslist. The audience is still there, so don't give up just because it's a little bit harder. One thing that you might want to try is something like a vanity domain or a vanity subdomain even. So you could do something like, we're using 2M Street as an example. We might try live@2m.com as a vanity domain, or we could do rent.2mstreet.com, which is a subdomain, but it's very custom. It's still short and easy to remember, and then we can redirect that to the main website. We can redirect that to a specific page on the site, and we're able to track that to see where those campaigns where that traffic is coming from. One of the ways that we're able to track those redirects is through something called a Google URL builder. And we have a couple clients that are actually doing this for like their property banners. They put out banners with their website, but they don't use the main website. They use one of these vanity URLs of like live@ourproperty.com. They run it through the URL builder to redirect it to where we want it to go, and now we're able to see in analytics how those campaigns are going, how those banners are working for us. This is what it looks like. Google URL builder. We can take whatever link we want. So down at the bottom, you see the oval with the a circle of mycommunitywebsite.com, and there's my offer is the page that we're trying to promote. Let's say we're running a static print ad in a local magazine. We could put that local magazine in as the source. We can say, hey, we're doing this banner ad, and we want to promote a Memorial Day party or something like that. Those are the things that we can use to customize the campaign. We could, campaign source could easily be Craigslist. Your medium could be referral. Your content could be our 2-bedroom with a den ad that we put on Craigslist, and then you give that whatever name you want. The URL builder automatically generates a URL for you, and then you can use that link to really track, and there's a whole section in analytics for campaigns so that you can see how those campaigns are doing for you. So that's a really handy tool. If you're doing anything with social media, you're going to end up with these really long links that are not easy to share on Facebook. They're not easy to share on Twitter or any of those sites. So you want to try and shorten that link up. You don't want to lose the tracking, but you want to shorten that link to make it easier to share. And we like a site called bit.ly for that, bit.ly. You can sign up for an account. All you do is you take that big long link that Google gives you and you drop it into Bitly, and it creates a short link for you. And you can see what this looks like. You know, the link for today's event was bit.ly/30with30GA. Well, the beauty of Bitly is that they actually have their own stats too. All you have to do is take your Bitly link and add the plus sign at the end. So you could try this with this link right now. You could try Bitly, whatever the link is, add the plus sign, and you're going to go to a Bitly page that's going to give you all the stats of how many people are clicking on that link and where were they when they clicked on it in terms of what site were they on and that kind of stuff. So whether it's something from an offline campaign or Craigslist or social media, we've got a couple of tools in our pocket with the URL builder and with Bitly so that we can really understand how people are getting into our website, and then from there we can use analytics to see what they're doing and if they're converting. One tool that we would really like and we're starting to use a lot more is something called Google Tag Manager. If you're like me, if you're like a lot of people on our team, you don't necessarily want to dig into the code of the website whenever you need to make a change to your analytics or set up a new tracking code, or set up something for Facebook, or if you're doing any kind of remarketing, you might be adding like custom tracking pixels. All of those things typically require getting into the website and adding it into the code. With Tag Manager, you actually have kind of one container that holds all of that stuff. And then you don't ever have to edit anything on the website going forward. All you have to do is go into Tag Manager and create a new tag that you want to add. You set up rules for how you want that tag to be applied to the website, and then you republish it, and you never have to talk to your webmaster, you never have to talk to your developer. As long as it's on every page of your website, then it will automatically work, and Google knows what to do with that. So here you can see a tag manager with a number of different tags that we've set up. One is, if we go to the bottom up, I guess, we've got a link click listener, so we're listening for if somebody clicks any link on the website. We've just kind of got that as a basic, and then we installed our analytics code inside the tag manager. We installed Facebook Insights and a Facebook custom audience so that we can do some advertising over on Facebook. And then we wanted to see, this particular client wanted to know, are people clicking to our social media sites from our website? So we set up events that will show up in analytics. We set up these events to see if people are clicking out to Twitter and clicking out to Facebook. And those are specifically set up so that if somebody clicks from the website out to the property's Twitter account, it'll fire off an event in analytics, and then we can go to the event section and see how many people actually clicked on that link and clicked out to Twitter. So pretty handy stuff, and you don't have to touch the code of the website to set up some of those marketing campaigns and marketing tracking things that you might be using. So those are some of the tools that we might want to think about. Definitely want to encourage you. I know I want to be able to take some questions if you have them, but want to give you some ways to think about how you can dig a little bit deeper with this and get more out of your website. We're a huge fan of landing pages and specific offers. Here's a really good example of outside the industry of somebody promoting kind of a free report for for video cameras. But really simple landing page, no navigation, there's a little bit of a logo, but then really it's just, here's the offer, give us your email address, download the report. If we're thinking about this in terms of, are people taking the actions we want them to take, it can't get much simpler than this. Works great for apartments too. This is something that we see, we're using these types of landing pages a lot for lease-ups, for new construction, for any kind of new offer that you might want to create. If you have some kind of landing page where it's very focused and you don't need to provide a lot of information, all you're really trying to do is entice someone to give up that name, email, really as little information as possible. We see that these work really well in terms of increasing conversions, because there's really not much that somebody's going to do other than look at this and say, yep, I'm interested, name and email, and then they're on your list, and your leasing team can start working those leads. So we definitely encourage you to think about how you can incorporate landing pages into your campaign so that you know that you'll increase conversions with these really focused offers. Want to go ahead and share that. We really look at how do we keep them focused on the goal. I mentioned Facebook Insights when I was talking about the Tag Manager. This is a really handy little tool. It's kind of like analytics on your website from Facebook. And the beauty of this is that it actually is retroactive. You can install this today, and Facebook would give you historical data. This is an easy way for you to see, okay, what are the social actions, what are the social Facebook actions that people are taking on my website, and what does that mean for traffic back to my site? So if you look at what I've circled here, site engagement is 73 total actions. So 73 actions of people either liking the page or sharing the page with their friends to Facebook. Out of that 73, because of the people who have shared it and their networks, we see that leads to a 146x distribution, multiplier in terms of total impressions on the website. 73 likes and shares results in over 10,000 total impressions on Facebook, which then, if you carry that back, that's great. We see that people are mentioning this on Facebook, but then we can see, all right, that actually resulted in 92 clicks back into the website, people who saw it on Facebook and visited our website. So pretty useful stuff. This is really easy to set up. It's one line of code to add to the website or add to your tag manager, and then you'll get an idea of not only what are people doing on the website, but how are they sharing and interacting with our website on Facebook. Another one to look at. All these social media sites now have some set of analytics. One that we really like is if you're creating really great visuals, if you have a blog where you're sharing some pretty cool things that people might want to pin. We do see that Pinterest is pretty popular among either locals looking for dog parks, or we see people actually pinning information during their apartment search. So here's a NOMA board that our friends at WC Smith have created. Got at the bottom, if you want to see, are people pinning information from our website, just go to pinterest.com/source/enter your website, whatever it is, 30lines.com. Click go and watch what happens. You'll see all of the pins of anybody, including you, but anybody and what they have pinned from your website to any of their public boards. It's a pretty handy way to see what's out there and what resonates with your audience, and it's a pretty handy way to see, okay, what are the social things that are working, and then how do I incorporate that into my future marketing efforts on our website. Some other things you might want to think about is, once you really start to understand what's happening and what your audience likes, you can really start to segment that audience and create content for specific segments. You can install remarketing, which is kind of those ads that follow you around on Facebook or follow you around on banners on other websites. A little creepy, but they work. We definitely recommend checking out experiments inside of Google Analytics. And experiments, everybody else calls them split testing or A/B testing. It's where you actually design two different versions of the page. Maybe you have a different headline or a different photo or a different text in your call to action button, but you can actually test those things and see which ones work. Analytics will track that for you in the experiments section, and it'll walk you through how to set that up. And then the next thing, the last thing is life cycle marketing, of just really understanding how do people shop for apartments, and how can you reach them earlier in the process, before they know you by name. What can you do to compel them to stay in front of them? And then as you can convince them that you're really the place where they want to live, what are the things that you can do to walk them through each step and give them the information so that they go from, considering you all the way through to signing the lease. So what now? Let's try and do, take some action here. I want to give you some tangibles. Hopefully you can, once you set up the goals, once you have some of these things set up, you'll be able to identify some trends, take away some insights, Make sure that you are looking at webmaster tools so that you can check on the health of your website. Google's going to give you some information to help you really understand how to feed the machine, how to give them as much information as possible so that they really can present your website in the best light. Go ahead and log a campaign in annotations, whatever you're doing in terms of Craigslist ads or anything else that you might not be able to see directly on the website. Track that stuff and see if it changes what happens, how it impacts your website traffic. And finally, tell us what you want to hear next. We're going to start doing these 30 with 30 Hangouts. We're going to do them on the 30th of every month, assuming it's a date that works for everybody. Probably not going to do it on Sundays, but it'll give us a good opportunity to talk to you. Hopefully you learn something out of this. If you want to hear more, if you want to hang out with us and see what else, we can dig into social media. We can talk about some things that are happening in terms of SEO or online advertising. Even web design, responsive design, designing for mobile, those kinds of things. We're totally open. We want to make sure that you are getting as much out of this as possible. And so, tell us what you want, and we will make sure that we're giving you the information. Finally, the last thing I want you to take away is not just looking at the numbers, but looking at the numbers to take away the insights, to make more informed decisions going forward. How do we use the data to get better? This isn't just so that you can give a report to the boss. It's so that you can run a report and say, hey, listen, we can turn off these ads. It's not going to impact us at all. We're going to save X numbers of thousands of dollars, and we can reinvest some of that in these places that are actually working for us. But let's use some of this data to get better. If you want more tools and resources, you can find us on Google+. You can find us in a lot of different places, but on Google, we're at google.com/30lines. And if you circle us up there, you'll be able. We're posting stuff almost on a daily basis in terms of digital marketing. We do help clients with this stuff directly. If you have questions, if you're not sure if your analytics are set up right, if you are not sure about how Google is seeing your website, if you're not sure about how your website is set up for things like conversions and social sharing, we'd be happy to take a look at that for you. Just for attending today, we want to give something back to you, so we've got that offer. All you have to do is contact us through the website. Let us know that you were hanging out with us today, and we'll make sure that we give you a deal on that audit. But we want to make sure that you're able to apply this information so that you know what is actually working. So at this point, I'm going to turn off the slides, and I'm going to turn it over to you. I can hang out for a little bit and answer questions. You can reach me. Here's, if you need to run, you can always reach me. Here's my email. That's our website, and that's where you can reach us on Twitter. We're always looking forward to talking to more people and helping them get more out of their digital marketing. But hopefully you got something out of this today. What I want to do now is turn it over to you and see if you have any questions. And there we go. All right. There is group chat, and then there is the Q&A section. So I see that there's still a few people on. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in, and we'll try and take care of those now. Or, like I said, you can always email me later, and we will be happy to take care of you individually. I don't think we're getting any questions, so hopefully we answered everything. If not, like I said, feel free to email me, Mike at 30lines, or you can hit us up through the website anytime, 30lines.com. Want to thank you for hanging out. We will probably follow up and just to get some feedback, see if this was useful for you, see what topics you'd be interested in for next time. Until then, happy marketing, everybody, and have a great week. Thanks.